All right, I have 6:30. We'll go ahead and get started. Call the meeting to order. Ask for a roll call, please.
Here.
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 Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have minutes from the regular meeting January 13 and special meeting February 3.
I move for approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of January 13th and the special meeting that was held on February 3rd.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not, same sign. All right. Thank you for those that are in attendance, and those that are watching or listening at home as well.
Max.
I appreciate your attendance this evening. We don't have any public comment, so we will go ahead and look for an adoption of our agenda.
Also move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second then for the adoption of the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not, same sign. All right, moving right along. Reports by admin, 8.1. School of the month, Jefferson. I feel like there should be like a horn or something.
We had Jaguar sounds teed up, but they didn't work when I pushed the button, so.
I feel like a jaguar roar or something. Good evening. Thank you so much for having us tonight. Thank you as well to Ike and Mary and Mark for joining us for the coffee chat last week. It was really, really great to have you guys there, so thank you. All right, so tonight we're going to talk to you a little bit about our goals for our school success plan, our action steps to get there, and the progress that we have made so far and the progress that we're looking forward to making in our second semester. Okay, so as you can see, our ELA goal is based off from 80% of our students being proficient on our grade level team common assessments by the end of the year. So what that means is during our collaborative team time, all of our grade levels choose essential standards that they want to focus on. So they have zoned in on specific ones that as a team, they are going to assess. And during our collaborative team time every week, they spend time looking at assessments and figuring out which students have it, which students don't, what are we gonna do for the ones that don't have it, and what are we gonna do for the ones who already have it? Because we know that growth for all students is incredibly important. So our focus for that really has been through interactive writing. So I know Mary and Ike got a chance to see some of that when they came for their visit, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about what that looks like for us. Before I do that, I want to show you a little bit of that data that we're talking about. So we like to look at the forward exam as an external assessment, iReady as an external assessment, but then, like I said, our goal is based off from our internal assessments. So we like to check and see how those are all matching up. So as you can see across the last few years in the forward exam, our language arts data has really increased. So we started off a few years ago at 27% of our students being proficient or advanced. The next year, 38%. And this past year, we jumped to 51% of our students being proficient or advanced on the forward exam. Then you can see our iReady winter scores. So this is the one that we just took. Across the years, you can see we are steadily moving. So we are up to 57% of our students being proficient or advanced currently. Now, as you can see, that team one on the bottom, those are our internal TAC assessments. So that you can see, we started in 22-23, and we thought internally in the middle of the winter, our teachers thought, you know what, 58% of our students are proficient or advanced on our internal assessments. Then the next year, 23-24, so that was last year, we knew a little more about what we were doing, but we also started a little bit more rigorous assessments for our students. So then all of a sudden you could see that proficiency dropped a little bit. Our teachers were like, you know what, maybe they're not quite where we thought they were. But in both of those, if you take a look in comparison to the iReady Winter, that first year we were thinking we were a little higher than what iReady told us. The second year, we actually were a little bit harder on our students than what iReady was telling us and what the Forward was telling us. This year, in our third year, you can see we're getting a little bit closer. So our Winter iReady score of 53% proficient was pretty similar, 57% was pretty similar to our team scores of 53%. So we are on the right track. But again, we want that bottom 53% to be at 80% by the end of the year. So how are we going to get there? Our actions. So we talked a little bit, interactive writing is really a cooperative routine where the teacher and the students are working together to craft some sort of writing. So at the kindergarten level, that might be writing a simple sentence. As you work your way through, all the way through 5th grade, it might be writing a paragraph. So thinking about the foundational skills that you need, your topic sentence, your details, everything else that goes along with it, which ties in really, really well to our Forward exam, because those are the skills that they need, writing a constructed response on our Forward exam. So as we go through classrooms for that, things that you're going to see, sharing the pen, modeling specific reading and writing strategies through a think aloud. So a teacher really sharing what's going on in their brain as an adult so that students can learn how to do that as proficient writers. It's reviewing foundational skills. So at the kindergarten, 1st grade level, it's spelling patterns, things that they're working on in their phonics-based instruction. As you get older, it's things like I said, like writing a paragraph, transition words, all of those foundational pieces of writing. And then the biggest part of that, as Rob would attest to, is landing the plane. So for that is how can we take that and transfer that to their independent writing? Because we're doing it together, but then what are they doing to show that they're able to do that on their own and transfer it to their own work? So what we've done at Jefferson this year in ELA and math is a lot of peer observations. We listened to our staff and they said, we want to see it in action. We want to see each other doing these things so that we can learn from each other. So we've set it up so that staff have been able to go in and observe each other, whether it's their grade level team, maybe they've wanted to see a grade level above them, a grade level below them, so they can see what it looks like across those grade levels. And to make it a little less intimidating, we had them do that with their peers first. We had them do that with our guiding coalition. We kind of voluntold a little bit that we wanted our guiding coalition to lead the way in that because it is really, really intimidating at times to have other people in your classroom. So it was really nice for our guiding coalition to lead the way. And then the final piece of that was to have a combination of administrators or our literacy support teachers go into classrooms once they got a little more comfortable with things. We have a look for document that simply shows those things like sharing the pen and modeling think alouds, all of those pieces that we really want to see in interactive writing. And we were able to go in teams and observe every single classroom teacher at Jefferson. We collected that data and we looked for trends. What are we doing really, really well? What are our next steps? And in fact, for our February 17th in-service, myself and our LSTs, our literacy support teachers, will be spending time providing specific professional development on A, what are we doing well, and B, what are those next steps and how do we get there? So here's just a couple examples. So you can see on the left, we have 5th grade students, and they were doing a constructed response, responding to some reading that they had done as a class. So you can see even 5th graders are gathered together on kind of a small carpet area. They're all working. They have graphic organizers in front of them so that everyone stays engaged in the lesson, and different students are coming up and sharing that pen. And then on the right, you have a 3rd grader coming up, and you can see a little bit different technology being used. So the left is a piece of chart paper and a marker. On the right, they're using the interactive whiteboard with the pen and going through. But on the right, they're actually filling out the graphic organizer together because you have to learn how to do that part before you can then transfer that into writing a paragraph.
Good evening. I'm going to talk with you about our math goal and then our SEL goal. So our math goal mimics our ELA goal, where again, we want 80% of our students on our internal assessments being proficient or on grade level by the end of the year. In math, where our focus is on math discourse tasks, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But again, as with an ELA, we try to have a very specific focus for our instructional practice, for our professional learning, and then for our observations as well. So math discourse, what we would say that is we want more students more actively and openly talking about math problem-solving strategies. As opposed to internal thinking within individual heads, we want them working together to solve more complex problems. Just as we have ELA data, we also have our math data. What you'll see again is this time, though, we started our team data in math a year after our ELA data. So we're in our second year of collecting our team data with math. And where our iReady math data hasn't shown dramatic improvement yet, you'll see that our math data internally, we have students that might not quite be showing it yet on iReady, but we're feeling stronger about our math data internally, especially at some of our younger grades, than what are some of our external assessments are showing us. Just as Selena talked about, we are using the same strategies in math as we are in ELA. So we are focusing on professional development. Again, with math discourse, how do we help our staff learn more about these math discourse procedures? Then the teams, grade level teams, are working on how to put those purposefully into their lesson plans at strategic points. And we're getting them to see each other in action with it. We're maybe I'd say a step behind in our math PD compared to our ELA PD, where we have had peers go in and see each other and they're doing the team planning. We have not gone in yet with, for example, a checklist of what administratively or with our math specialist, what we are seeing in the classrooms. That's a next step for us. A couple pictures again on the left. This is a session where our staff, all of our staff are learning about some of this inner math discourse, and they are solving some of the problems just as we would ask them to have their students do that. On the right, you'll see some fourth graders, and they are working together to solve some problems about area and perimeter. Again, you can kind of see they're out of their seats. They're up, they're talking, they're doing some of that on the whiteboard, some team problem solving. SEL-wise, our goal is to have at least 60% of all staff members identify our foundational social emotional learning practices, or our tier 1 practices, as successful. So that includes support staff members, certified staff members, and how we're focusing on that is we want to have real clear expectations. We are working on building our relationships with students and among students, and then focusing on how are we reteaching some of the pieces to the students. The data for this data is focused on our certified staff, and we do our PLC survey in the middle of the year and at the end of the year. This is the middle of the year data. So we are doing the all staff survey trimestrally. So we had data for the fall that had about 50% of our staff thinking we are where we needed to be. So we're working to get towards that 60% yet. So there's a little bit of a difference between where we'd say some of our certified staff and some of our support staff see our SEL practices. But what are we looking at? What are we working towards with that? Morning meetings, which is a process of having the students come in, and then one of the first things they do is they meet as a class and they talk about different social emotional learning aspects, focusing on our themes at school, having big hearts, having strong minds, having strong bodies. Also, they do some interactive activities, greetings, talking again to build that classroom community. We are working with them through our students through our second step curriculum, and additionally through our morning meetings with helping students to identify different feelings and then strategies to use when they have those feelings. We are trying to focus on positive recognitions, both within the classroom on a regular daily basis and within the building more on a weekly basis. And we're trying to bring in more of that external service learning or giving of yourself towards others to help students see how their actions at school can then have an impact beyond the building. A few example pictures there. On the left is a 5th grade classroom doing a morning meeting. And then on the right is a 3rd grade classroom, and this is in January as we came back from winter break. All of our classrooms refocused on classroom and school expectations, and they're going through a little checklist of what those expectations are and how the teacher in the class will know that they've met those expectations. Going outside of our school success plan a little bit, I just wanted to highlight some things that are going on at Jefferson with you, and I have a few photos of those as well. So we have a very, very active PTO, a wonderful PTO at Jefferson Elementary, and with them we have planned monthly school events, either led through school staff or with our PTO staff. Each month we have an SEL assembly at school, and each month a different grade level teaches the rest of the class about either what it looks like to have a strong body or a strong mind or a big heart. We work to have more and more opportunities for buddy classrooms where our older students are working with our younger students, teaching each other or helping each other. We had 2 different opportunities, one around the holidays and one right now with Jefferson Gives Back and Jefferson Big Hearts, where we have our students engaged in activities to help others besides themselves. It could be elders in the community, it could be others within the school. And last but not least, last year we did a can tab collection for the Ronald McDonald House because we had a family in need at Jefferson. That need is no longer there, but we wanted to continue that tradition of trying to help others. Just a couple pictures. Here on the left is our first grade team and students, and they are teaching at the assembly the rest of the kids. On the right is an example of 4th graders with that Jefferson Gives Back. What our 4th graders did in December is every single student at Jefferson got a positive note from a 4th grader. So they spent time in December writing a little note to every student. Here are a couple examples of those buddies examples I spoke about. We have older students here in January going to visit a younger student classroom, a 1st grade classroom, and they are presenting about school expectations. And then vice versa, that classroom of 1st graders went to the older classroom and presented another aspect of school expectations to them. On the right, this is at the beginning of the year, we have our 4th graders and our 4K students eating the same lunch shift. And the 4Kers at the beginning of the year have to learn those lunch routines. So we buddied them up one-on-one. One class of 4th graders partnered with the 4Kers, and they took them through the lunch line, sat with them, helped them clean up, and did that again and again and again until our 4Kers were independent with it. And then a couple of our PTO activities. On the left is the Trunk or Treat, which has been a Jefferson tradition for that predates me, but we had a beautiful day and a lot of families and staff that came and joined that. And then on the right is an example from just last month. We had a makerspace / creativity night at Jefferson, sponsored by our PTO. And we had the robo hackers come and they did some battle bots, and the kids really loved that as one of the examples. So again, Selena and I really appreciate your time. We love talking about Jefferson, all the wonderful things we have going on there. Are there any questions that you have for us that we could help you with?
I just had one about your SEL goal where you were asking, I want to make sure I understand it, you're asking the staff and looking for the goal is 60%. How did you decide that you were going to ask the staff and not somehow make sure that the lessons were received by the kids?
We want to see how staff are feeling about the end. We teach all these different SEL lessons. There's a foundation of skills, but then we want to see how our staff interpreting that, and we wanted to see how staff are interpreting that, not just in the classroom, but on the playground, the lunchroom, the different areas where we have our support staff doing more of those supervisions as well. So often we will say and see that kids feel like, yeah, I know how to control my emotions, or I know what to do when I'm angry, or I know the second step process of, name my feelings, but can they put it into action? And that's where we wanted the staff view a little bit more.
Okay, so the staff is like observing the kids too and assessing how they feel like the kids are understanding those lessons, not just are they doing them in the classroom.
Correct.
But
how
are
is
the
it
kids
applied on the
them?
playground? How is it
Got it.
applied in the hallway? Things like that.
Good, all right, thanks.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us at Jefferson. We, I was there obviously. Started off with some great conversations with the staff. They seemed to all be in great spirits, so that was good. As we got moving through the school, the interactive writing, that was really cool to see. One of the things I took away from that was just the entire class being, fully engaged in that process, and everybody's, adding adding a little bit to the conversation, and so I was really impressed by that. Like I said, they were all very engaged, and there were some good in-class discussions. And then as well with the math discourse, I got to get involved with that. So the groups were all working well together. There were groups of three students, and I dove right in with that. We came up with some solutions, and they welcomed me into their group, and I was happy to help. Yeah, I think I helped. I don't know.
I think you missed a calling as a math teacher, Ike.
Okay, well, I tried, so thank you. But no, it was a great visit. So again, I was just really impressed with, like I said, the students being engaged in all those, in the writing and the discourse. So thank you.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That moves us on to 8.2, Summer School 2025.
Hello, how are all of you? Good. So we are here to talk about summer school. I know it seems like a far ways away, but we have lots of planning to do to get started. So summer school 2025 update. First, we're going to just talk about dates and locations. For elementary and middle school and elementary are going to run, it'll be the week after we end school, so June 9th through July 24th. We'll continue with the Monday through Thursday model, and we will not have school the week of June 30th. That is when we have the 4th of July week. That seemed to work out very well for a lot of our families and for our staff, so they still have that time to take off and go do what they would like to do to celebrate, and then they come back for the last 3 weeks of summer school. For high school, it'll be very similar. Start with the June 9th date, and they'll go through July 25th. Theirs is Monday through Friday for credit recovery. If there is a class that maybe is an enrichment class or something outside of credit recovery, then we typically see a Monday through Thursday. Locations, elementary, 99.9% sure it'll be at Prairie View Elementary because of some of the summer projects that we have coming up. And then the middle and high will be at the high school again. So instructional delivery is going to be very similar to how it was done in the past. So elementary is going to be in person, and there'll be a focus of academic and enrichment. So we'll do 2 to 3 class periods, academic and enrichment, and then 2 lunch periods. So typically we do like our K1, 2 kiddos, and then our 3, 4, 5 that separate into those lunch periods. Last year we did it a little differently with the different classes that they were in, just to make it a little bit less of the amount of kids that we had in the lunchroom at one time so that we could better manage that. And that seemed to work well. It was still done by the grade levels, but that was helpful to kind of manage the amount of students that we have in our lunchroom because we have an upward close to 550 kids that attend. So to have that many, we have to find a way to split it. We're going to continue to work on enhancing our format just to provide more research-based interventions aligned with our science-based reading. This goes along with Act 20 that was implemented. And this is also going to include for Act 20 making sure that our students that have personalized reading plans, they are going to be highly recommended and highly encouraged to take our summer school courses. We can't ever force someone to take our summer school courses, but we will be in contact with the families who are have a student that is receiving a PRP just to ensure that they are getting the support that they need so that we don't see any regression in their reading abilities while they are on their summer break. For middle school, it'll be very similar to how it was previously. It'll be in person at the high school, and they'll do the academic and enrichment focus. Students will rotate through 3 periods, each at 60 minutes. And then the enrichment ranges from games to crafts to dance. We do have some staff that are really looking to do some enrichment, so we're really going to try to, this year, market it to our students at the middle school level, just so they are more willing and engaged to actually sign up and participate because we have the staff to be able to do so. At the high school, it'll be in person, and then the credit recovery will be the primary focus. This is just some historical data. Specifically, this is student enrollment, so this goes back to 2021. As you can see, we have just steadily increased for our elementary school enrollment. It's been a huge help. In 2022 is when it was separated between two different schools, so we were at Lincoln and Jefferson, and then we moved to just being at Prairie View, and you can kind of see that our numbers have increased from just being at one site location, which is why we've continued to have it just at one site. Middle school, kind of where it's been for the past 2-3 years, still trying to increase our numbers specifically with our students who are needing either math or reading kind of enrichment classes that maybe would provide some help to kind of manage their summer and provide them for the expectations and the resources that they might need going into their next school year. High school, similar numbers to the past 3 years, and then this year we're working on some different ways that we can add some additional courses as well as report out some different numbers for DPI. So I'm working closely with Mr. Cashman just to see what we can do for our numbers at the high school level. Staffing projections, pretty similar to all of our previous years. Elementary school looks a little bit different. We typically have one administrator, and then we have between 20 to 25 staff with 20 to 25 teaching assistants and 2 secretarial positions. Depending on the amount of students that we have enrolled, as well as the students who have specialized needs, we have either less teacher assistants that are special education teacher assistants or just regular ed, but we offer the opportunity for both to be available. Middle school and high school, they have our rotating administration, and we're seeing how we can best support that just because we do have a lot of wonderful administrators that are there to help support, but what we can do to make sure that we have someone consistent there so that our students and our staff know who to report to if there are any questions or anything that needs to be addressed. Last year at the middle school, we had about 6 certified staff members. We did have more that were willing. We just didn't have the numbers of people to sign up and actually enroll in our summer school, so we did have to cut some positions, and we actually moved some of those to our elementary level. So we were still able to include them in summer school. They just came down and did it at the elementary level. And then our secretarial, it's rotating, so we do have secretaries that are on 11-month contracts, and they rotate throughout and kind of take that on throughout the summer. Our lunch program and transportation, so we'll continue to collaborate with our food service, where we're able to provide free lunch to our students at no cost, and then we will continue to work with First Student for our busing. Last year, it went really smoothly for the elementary level. We do have shuttle buses that take students from central locations and then they bus them to Prairie View. And we do offer transportation to students who are recommended for class where it's door-to-door pickup. We also last year were able to provide transportation from Prairie View to the high school for a tennis course, and that was extremely popular. And we did take a field trip last year with the police work class. So Officer Edwards, one of our school's SROs, he and Tyler Schmidt, who was in my position while I was on maternity leave, they did the class together and they took the kids to the PD, and it was a really cool experience for them. We got a lot of really good feedback. We are not doing any charge for our courses. The only time that someone would be charged for summer school would be if they live out of district. So next steps, if our plans are approved, mid-March we typically send our course books home right after spring break, so that Monday after spring break. Then our registration is due mid-April. Then we finalize our staffing and assignments at the end of April based on what our enrollment looks like. And then the mid-end of May, we have our student schedule sent home. And then the end of May, early June, we secure our transportation details and summer school starts. That's all I have. So if you have any questions or need any clarification.
I just have one question. What is the time of the summer school program for, anyways, the elementary school kids?
Sure. Elementary school is 8:30 to 12:35.
Okay.
And so then our reading classes, they have like a 90-minute block. So then we can separate our other classes into 45-minute blocks. So if a student's enrolled in a reading class, then they would still have an opportunity to take an enrichment class as well. And then we kind of balance it with when middle school and high school starts, that transportation, we typically start middle school, high school at 8:15, and they end about 15 minutes earlier just so that the buses can get our kids to and from without an interruption. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
So that's open to any of our students. It doesn't matter if.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then so our fifth grade students, they stay in the elementary
Yes.
program?
Yes, yep, they'll stay in the elementary, yeah.
Gotcha.
There has been an opportunity, though, for like a robotics course that's taught from the middle school or high school where they have moved up because we have had some eighth graders that have wanted to take robotics in high school, so then they worked, since they were already at the high school, it worked out to be able to do that, but yes, our fifth graders would stay.
And then my last question, like any of those students that, like you say, on like a reading plan or anything, we're going to try and encourage them to enroll in summer school.
Yep.
Do they still get like the fun part of summer school as well?
Yes.
Correct?
Yep. So they could choose to just take a reading course if that's what works for them, but they could also do then the enrichment as well. So they would do a 90-minute block of reading, and then they would still have a 45-minute block that they could do an enrichment, or if they needed math, and then they'll do recess and lunch. So we try to balance so that they can still have that opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, look for a motion. Motion to approve,
I make a motion, we approve the plan and dates for summer school 2025 as presented.
Second.
all right, motion and a second then to approve the plans and dates for summer school 2025. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not, same sign.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, 8.3, strategic plan mid-year update.
All right. Doesn't get any more exciting than this. Looking forward to this. A couple of goals for our time.
Sorry. I'm good.
Okay, I didn't know if you were answering a call or
No,
if a goose showed up. I didn't know what happened. I'm glad you're good.
just taking care of myself.
All right, so plan update objectives, providing the Board of Education with a general update regarding the status of our DSAs, our district strategic actions that we've committed to this year. There are 7 of those. Also providing reference to school success plan status, and with that foreshadow a comprehensive breakdown of our mid-year data that will be presented through the Teaching and Learning Committee on February 24th. So a couple of things. I know everybody's probably looked at the presentation, but you're basically going to get with this just a nugget of context regarding the school success plans, and at the Teaching and Learning Committee, you're going to have a much deeper dive of some of the information that we have available. So if upon reflection you come up with any questions or otherwise things that you want us to maybe prepare to have available, I'd encourage you to let us know. And then obviously, committee's open to anybody, so even if you're not on the Teaching and Learning Committee, I would encourage you as a board member to consider attending. A lot of great work going on, and we want to be able to share it. So as far as our DSAs go, and for the purpose of being transparent with the public, obviously I'm going to reread some of these. But again, we have 7 DSAs. The first one, DSA 1, is early literacy. So that's about creating partnerships and plans with community stakeholders to provide our families and our community with early literacy resources, specifically birth through age 3. That include both tangible resources and community education experiences. So the team that's working on that has a first cycle of early literacy family events scheduled that will take place the week of April 5th through the 11th. They're going to hold a session at Jefferson Elementary School, the Chamber of Commerce, and also a lunch and learn at a local employer. The exact local employer, I believe, is still TBD. Is that accurate, Mr. Kraus? Thank you. And these events are going to consist of our school district staff members modeling reading strategies and tips. We'll also be providing food as well as a free book for every family that participates. The DSA 2 is focused on service learning. And that's about developing a plan that ensures every student engages in a meaningful service learning experience at least 3 times over the course of their K-12 career. So those 3 times, and it kind of explains this in the description or the update, but essentially once during each of their level experiences. So once at the elementary level, once at the middle school level, and once at the high school level. And these the service learning kind of embedded piece that will parallel and work within our curriculum is not meant to replace any of the other community-based service experiences that is an expectation for students that are privileged to participate in activities or athletics or otherwise. So those things will continue. But they've worked through the inventory process, and they're now working on basically planning out what each level is going to look like. Our third DSA is about post-secondary readiness. That's developing a system and structure that ensures all students, regardless of their ability level or designation, are able to engage in a post-secondary readiness experience outside of the traditional school prep pathway. So part of that is making sure that we're really sharp on the foundation of what we currently have. So they kind of went through, basically, we'll call it an internal assessment, evaluation of what's currently in place, mapped that out very, very well. So that's what our high school PPS team did, and working with Tiffany and some other leaders to make sure that was honed in. They've also looked at a variety of other post-secondary program plannings, program opportunities for students ages 18 to 21. Those would typically be for students who have IEPs to help improve transition work. And they're currently organizing in what they're calling an Amazing Race to Employment event this spring to provide hands-on career exploration opportunities for our students. DSA 4, Human Resources, enhancing partnerships with colleges that afford our district more opportunities to host formal internships that can lead to full-time employment. So currently, Dr. White and her team are working through potential partnerships with local colleges and universities to provide a Grow Your Own program that allows talented teaching assistants who want to become teachers the opportunity to apply for BDUSD sponsorship to obtain teacher licensure. DSA 5, in regards to budget and facilities, is about developing a plan that includes strategies for navigating all possible outcomes associated with critical facility needs and efforts based on community feedback and support. And again, if you recall, when we developed these DSAs in the summer, obviously we didn't necessarily know exactly what the outcome was going to be, so we need to be prepared for all those outcomes relative to the capital referendum in the fall. So plans were developed for several scenarios regarding that passage, the passage or not. We're moving forward with developing an operational budget for next year that coincides with the facility plans for the middle school and Washington Elementary, as well as district-wide safety, security, ADA, accessibility, recreation, and site improvements. So all the planning and details associated with that are going very, very well. Operations Committee heard a little bit more about that at their last meeting, and then a component of this work will be shared through the request for approval on the summer projects. DSA 6 is about developing a plan that prioritizes workplace safety and compliance with best practice to ensure timely response to accidents and reduce insurance premiums for operational budget relief. Wherever we can provide that kind of relief allows us to invest more in the classroom, right? So this year, Ryan and his team implemented a new nurse triage call line as a first response for employee inquiries. Initial data for the calendar year 2024 shows a 50% decrease in the number of reportable cases and 0 days away from work for new cases. That's good. It's a good trend. And then DSA 7 is about partnering with secondary students and other stakeholders, such as local law enforcement and emergency personnel, to strengthen safety measures by leveraging their own personal expertise and experiences. And this was a carryover from a little bit of a stall out on this effort last year. So we're really focusing at this point in time at the middle school. So the middle school administrative team and the SRO serving the middle school have identified students that have demonstrated an interest in participating in middle school safety team meetings. There's a 6th grader and a couple 7th graders that participate actively on that. So at the December meeting, they were able to share their more recent perspectives on safety drills and the efforts that are taking place at the middle school. And their next meeting is scheduled for February, and they're looking to add 1 to 2 more students to increase representation. School success plans. Selena and Jesse did a great job of maybe foreshadowing this, but just to re-ground us, our school success plans in general typically have to do with reading, mathematics, and then either a form of student connectedness or some type of professional practice that is going to support the work of the school success plans. So real quick, going to run through some highlights and celebrations as well as challenges and opportunities. And if I have any challenges explaining anything, Dr. Meyer or Mr. Kraus will have the opportunity to clarify for me. See how I did that? All right. Probably not as easy to see up on this screen, but you can bring it up in front of you. So at the elementary, highlights and celebrations. We have improved iReady reading and math scores really across the board. Results indicate predicted forward improvements across all elementary buildings this year. So if you look at that particular chart, you're going to see forward scores for the last 3 years. The fourth column is the iReady prediction, 2025 forward proficiency, and then you're going to see a prediction based on past performance. So based on that, for example, in the left chart, which is reading, you see increases ranging from 3 to 8% in forward proficiency based on our experience. And Jesse and Selena have done a really good job of projecting those out. They've had a number of years of doing that, so we can't say for certain those projections are going to land with 100% accuracy, but this is what our data is telling us at this point in time. Again, with math, you see the same thing, and you see the projected increase in proficiencies in math at ranging from 4% to, I believe the highest is a 17% increase, so that is outstanding. Also, as a highlight and celebration, Tiffany and her team, in working with some of our elementary leaders, identified a model that would provide specific LST support, so literacy teachers, right, for special education students. So really specific to delivering that service for the students in that cohort. And we're doing that at Jefferson Elementary and Prairie View Elementary. Why those two? Well, part of that has to do with the size of the school, and part of it also has to do with the unique maybe nature, capacity, and needs of the cohorts we would be targeting. So far this year, Jefferson, the group that we're working with there has showed on average a 58.5% growth year over year from where they would have been slated to grow the year prior. Would that be an accurate way of saying it, give or take? Tiffany's kind of like covering, Jesse's nodding. That means that was pretty good, good enough. And Prairie View, 68% of the students involved in that cohort are outperforming their expected growth as well this year. So really, really exciting that we're seeing that, and I really appreciate the innovation and the willingness to take some risks with a new model. We need to be able to do that. At the secondary level, we're seeing reading growth from fall to winter at the middle school trending in the positive, which obviously can lead to improved proficiency, and we all want to see that and believe that that can happen. So we've seen an increase of 16% in our median progress to typical growth at the middle school in reading. At the high school, improvement in achievement around heavily assessed English conventions. So, you know, think about rules, right? So think about spelling, vocabulary, punctuation, grammar, etc. So mastery of convention skills and standards has increased 7% over last year. Challenges and opportunities. So one of these challenges or opportunities has to do with Act 20. So our at-risk students that have been identified in the area of literacy, and we did not see a significant drop in the number of K-3 students that were identified as at risk on the universal screener from fall to winter. So in essence, we identify a certain percentage of students in the fall that are identified as at risk and you know, need more support and have PRPs developed, and that number is not trending downward as much as we would like it to see. And then iReady winter reading proficiency data at 4th and 5th grade levels has not been as high as in other grade levels over the past 3 years. So if we were to compare the last 3 years and look at K3 versus 4-5, our K3 proficiency looks really, really strong this year. Our 4-5, comparatively speaking, not as strong as we'd like it to see. We'd like to see it. And then at the secondary level, middle school, there's a dip in math growth right now from last year, which has caused the middle school team to be behind on their mid-year on grade level goal, which they are working to address. So had a great conversation with Rob this morning. Him and his team have been working on this ever since they got this information, but really doing a good job of involving staff at a team level, as well as identifying some specific things that some individual teachers can work with students on to hone things in, and then they're going to be working on making sure that the fidelity of kind of those level up efforts is actualized from classroom to classroom. At the high school, improving data analysis and use with our improved data and instructional tools. So you've heard Russ talk about IXL before. So they currently have students have practiced more than 9,857 skills, grades 9 through 11, reaching proficiency in all but 7%. However, this is less than their goal of students meeting proficiency in at least one skill per week. So in a nutshell, and Russ, feel free to interject here, or Rob, but we've got to be using that tool with more fidelity and more consistently throughout. I think there's been a little bit of a squish in the fidelity of use of that IXL as a resource and a measure. And part of that's relatively expected to be seen when you're bringing in a new resource, but we can do better, and we are going to do that. One other thing I just wanted to note, so we do, with our strategic plan, do keep track of a variety of metrics. So we monitor 20 different metrics, and the board can access those in their folders, review that. If you have any questions about accessing that, you can check with Mary. But we monitor 20 different metrics. 18 of those metrics have specific targets. 2 are more associated with what we'll call a trend goal. Those 2 would be open enrollment in and mill rate. Both of those have been favorable. So our percentage of open enrollment in as it relates to our total population has increased 1%, which maybe doesn't sound like a ton, but when you're talking about thousands of kids, it matters. And then our mill rate, just the general trend goal there would be to keep it low where possible, or move it downward, which obviously we've been able to do, and the board's familiar with the budgeting process and understands that. But of those 18 with specific targets, we've seen improvement in 14 with targets met or exceeded in the following: ELA and math at the elementary level. So the strategic plan targets that were identified have either been met or exceeded. That doesn't mean we're slowing down anybody at the elementary level, but for the target that was identified, that's been exceeded. Our graduation rate as a district has been exceeded. Again, we're working to get it higher. We know the benefits of that, but just something to note. Student engagement as measured, that target has been met, and our fund balance target has been met and exceeded. Target was 5.2, we're at 6.7 million, in case you're wondering. The full update and report, there's a couple of squishy metric pieces that take a little bit of time to flesh in. Some of that has to do with staff retention numbers, believe it or not, so it's not all like perfectly clean, but Nicole and I will be working on updating that, but you'll get a full update. Most of those metrics, again, that I just referenced, if I said that they've been met or exceeded, that means that they've been met or exceeded by the end of 2024. So the 24-25 school year, if you're looking for a bunch of updated information there, considering a lot of it's autopsy data, you're not going to have that. But just to keep in mind that generally speaking, there's a lot of successes within that plan. A lot of areas we need to continue to improve and push forward with throughout the rest of the year, though. Any questions or comments?
So I don't want to ask questions about the stuff we're going to go over in committee, but just a quick one on DSA 6, which had to do with the workplace safety and compliance and best practice.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that decrease in the number of reportable cases was because of the nurse triage line, or was it just a coincidence that those things both happened?
Mr. Cashman, do you want to do this?
I think a big part of it is the nurse triage line, because the employees are actually speaking to a real nurse on the phone, and they're getting advice from a real nurse, and if they should either go to the doctor right away or treat it at home. And so there's real medical advice without actually taking it to that next level. So they're getting that within 20 to 40 minutes of the accident occurring.
Nice, thank you.
So, yep.
I had a quick question on the LST support for the special ed. Is that just is that a small group? What does that look like?
That data is based on 21 students at Jefferson and 19 at Prairie View. Special ed students that have reading goals that had reading instruction last year and then this year. So there might be more students, but we wanted to cut the same group. So which students received special instruction last year under a different model compared to how they performed this year with the model where we just had one special ed teacher solely devoted to reading instruction.
Anything else? All right.
So just before we move on, like Mark said, deeper dive in T&L, review the information. Again, get a hold of Mark if there's any specific information that you want to specifically dig deeper in. I believe admin will be there.
Every principal will be there to be able to
Every
speak.
principal will be there for that meeting, so it's opportunity for you to kind of prep if you have any necessary questions or other information that you want. That'd be the time to bring it forward.
February 24th, 5:30. So another piece about that, our admin team's working feverishly to get that presentation honed in well ahead of the curve. So I would anticipate by Wednesday, next Wednesday, I think it'd be reasonable. We can get that posted a little early, again, for the following Monday meeting, but we'll get that posted. That'll be in the teaching and learning folder. So give people a couple extra work days during the week to maybe look at that. So just so you have some context, and again, I mean, obviously it's the committee's time, but anybody's welcome, and our whole principal team will be here to add context.
Yeah, so obviously T&L will be there to start, but I would encourage the operations people to maybe make that one of the meetings to also attend.
Mark, when does the spreadsheet of metrics get updated with the mid-year data?
So Jesse did a great job of updating what he had available to him in November, or this fall. So there's a couple other pieces that we feel like we can update yet this year, and then the rest of them, unfortunately, will be updated after we get state data back. So we can't totally control the timing on that, but that's going to be mid-June? End of May. But it won't get updated till June.
Good. All right, let's move on. 8.4, resolution awarding the sale of 27 million.
All right. So tonight, we begin Phase 1 of the referendum financing plan. This financing plan currently projects borrowing $107 million in 3 phases, with the option to condense that into 2 phases, depending on interest rates and project timelines. Phase 1 tonight totals $27 million. This went up for sale today. And tonight, the board will be asked to approve the resolution awarding the sale of $27 million of general obligation promissory notes. The past month, the district has performed the necessary steps required to position ourselves for Phase 1 of the project, which is part of the larger referendum financing plan. These steps consisted of a bond rating call, we did a due diligence review call, and we've provided many official statements to borrowers, lenders, legal team. A lot of paperwork goes into today. So at 10 a.m. this morning, we received 9 bids. The lowest bid that adhered to our finance plan guidelines came in at 4.34% interest. This is lower than the 4.92 conservative interest rate that we had originally estimated for Phase 1 of the plan. So it's a recommendation tonight that the board approve the resolution awarding the sale of $27 million of general obligation promissory notes to FHN Financial at an interest rate of 4.34%. Once approved, these funds we have a closing date set, and then these funds will be deposited into an interest-bearing account managed by PMA, and then we will use those funds to do construction work, any work associated with the referendum project question.
Questions for Ryan?
Ryan, who did you say that we were awarding the sale of the 27 million to?
Yeah, it's FHN Financial, and their bid came in at
That's 4.2?
4.3370, so 4.34. So they were the lowest interest rate bidder.
I'll move the board approval awarding the sale of 27 million general obligation promissory note as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second then to approve the resolution awarding the 27 million. Is presented. Ask for roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, that moves us on to reports presented by the Board of Education, and we will start with our student rep report.
Thank you. So the month of January was busy at the high school, and we've had a lot of exciting events and accomplishments across our school community. This month was a month of looking towards the future with a lot of events setting students up for success in their future. We hosted our Gearing Up for High School event. This is an annual event helping make the transition from middle to high school easier. Students had the opportunity to explore the high school, learn about different programs, and meet some teachers. It's always great to see our new students getting excited for what's ahead. Alongside that, we had tours happening throughout the school day where incoming freshmen had the opportunity to see how the school functions during the day and see how the climate and culture is here compared to the middle school and like the adjustments that they'll need to make. And these opportunities all contribute towards building a positive school culture for the future years. Semester 1 is officially behind us and semester 2 is in full swing. The first half of the year was productive, and we're looking forward to new opportunities and challenges that the new semester will bring. The annual String Fling event was a hit. Students from orchestra groups performed a joint concert showing off their musical talents and hard work. It's always nice to see schools come together to put on this event. Unfortunately, the Parade of Bands was canceled due to weather. However, I've been told that they are working on a rescheduling date so that students will still get the chance to perform and show off these skills to the community. We're excited to also announce that a senior at the high school, Easton Warden, has been named a National Merit Scholarship finalist. This is a huge honor for Easton, and he is now vying for one of the scholarships, with the winners being announced in March. We're proud of him and all of his hard work that has brought him to this point. Our agriculture department recently welcomed 3 baby lambs. A local farmer was generous enough to have 3 pregnant ewes, female sheep, stay in the ag room so that students can witness the lambing process. One of the ewes had twins and one had just one little one. The final ewe is due any day now. This is a great opportunity for kids to have hands-on learning experience in the agriculture classroom and really the whole school, because there's constantly students coming in to see the baby lambs and the process happening there. And then juniors are beginning ACT preparations for their big test coming up. This is an important step for college prep or just seeing the benchmark of where we're at, and we're wishing them all luck. And seniors are hard at work on their scholarship applications. I know I can say for the whole senior class that we're grateful to have such wonderful support for students pursuing higher education. It's been a busy and productive month, and we're excited about all the progress our students have been making. This next month, I'm hoping to get into some elementary schools and report on what's happening there.
So Max, I know you don't like talking about yourself in your report out, but I did see something about an FFA Career Development Events Contest at the Wisconsin Auctioneers Association where you got first?
Yes, that is correct. So
Why don't you explain that a little bit to us?
So this was a new contest for the FFA this year, and I kind of jokingly, but I was sort of serious, told my advisor, sign me up. So it was auctioneering. Never auctioneered before or anything. So he signed me up, and I found out the competition was in Marshfield, and I got the date, and I watched some YouTube videos, and my advisor made me get up in front of my class daily, starting 2 weeks before the competition, and auction off random stuff from an expo marker, because they had me auction off 2 things, one thing that I brought, and then one thing that I didn't know what it was, and so I competed, and then, I honestly, watching the video back, I still don't think I deserved to win, but...
So you're gonna demonstrate your auctioning skills tonight for us or not?
There's a video online somewhere. So But with that also came a full ride to auctioneer school, so.
Hey,
That's a 10-day course, so I might be going off to that.
It's a whole nother path for you.
Yeah.
Hey, Max,
Education's never
we used to
wasted.
love to go to auctions, that Julius Temkin especially would. He's the super auctioneer, so if you're anything like him, you gotta,
I am not anything like
Oh,
him.
come on.
If I go to the school, it'll probably just be for like charity auctions. I won't be
well,
doing a
that'll
big.
work too.
Yeah.
well done, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Max, is there, on those baby lambs, do we got any names that we can report out to the community for them?
I have not been informed of any baby name or any names because they don't want the students to get too attached. Because
Okay.
the farmer will be taking them. Very good.
That was my dad's rule too, no naming him.
All right, anything else for Max?
Thank you.
All right, Max, thanks. All right, moving on, let's see, Operations Committee. Ops-
Well, we had our meeting January 27th, and Mr. Marshall and Mr. Cashman presented a list of proposed projects for summer of 2025. I think we're going to ask you, were you going to talk about it a little bit today? And so why don't you go ahead and present the summer projects?
So at the Operations Committee, we presented projects that historically for summer projects, we target about $600,000 in work. That includes facility maintenance for the entire district. This summer, for the summer of '25, we are looking at a total budget of $3.6 million worth of work. However, only $437,000 of that would be our Fund 10 operational budget work, which is the traditional $600,000. The rest of that includes referendum work, so Fund 49 is what we'll refer to it moving forward. And that's for the district-wide safety, security, ADA accessibility, recreation, and site improvements. Most of that work will be done at Jefferson Prairie View. There's some work done at the ESC and the high school athletic complex. The timelines for this include basically this summer, potentially extending into the fall slightly. It will cover 2 different budget years, 2 different fiscal years, so some of that will happen in June in the current budget, and then some will continue on in next year's 25-26 budget. But all the referendum funding and projects will be over the 3-year referendum span that we have till 2027. Other normal maintenance projects for this summer that would come out of the normal operational funding would include 2 small sections of roof work at the high school. That totals about $99,000. HVAC at several elementary schools, re-siding or re-skinning of the shed here at the ESC that houses maintenance equipment and lawn care items, as well as several district vehicles.
And you'd be looking for us to have a motion to accept the projects as presented, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
I make a motion, we approve the summer projects as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second then to approve the summer projects as presented. Let's, for a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Okay, and at our Operations Committee, we talk about the referendum projects on a monthly basis, and some of the projects that we talked about was the middle school design team met with groups of staff members to solicit a first round of input on building spaces. There was a program document and first pass that floor plans are ongoing. Preparing for site surveying and boundary markings in the spring. And the next meeting will start the discussion on structural systems, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and site design for the middle school. At Washington Elementary, there's been an early bid package for underground work to start this spring. Bids were received and are currently scoping out contractors. We will design and documentation for Phase 1. The kindergarten addition and renovation is complete and currently bidding. The design and documentation for Phase 2, which is the Commons addition and classroom renovations, is ongoing and on track for completion by the end of February. And there are also district-wide improvements going on or being planned for playground planning at Jefferson Elementary and Prairie View Elementary are underway. And we're currently waiting on proposals from several different vendors regarding the price, scope of the work, and timelines for accessibility and site improvements at these locations. And there's also district-wide safety, security, and recreation and site improvements at Jefferson's Elementary School, the high school campus, and the Educational Service Center that are slated to begin this summer. Engineering proposals for both locations regarding increasing ADA accessible walking paths, additional fencing, and parking lot safety improvements, and recreation site improvements are due at our next meeting. So, any of the other groups from the Operations Committee have any other inputs on any of our projects that we're handling?
I don't think so. I think you covered it pretty good, actually. I don't think nothing got left out from what we've been covering in our meetings.
No, they did have the one meeting where they started the discussion of the mechanical systems at the new middle school, and it was an interesting discussion.
Okay.
It's gonna be great. Do we land on whether or not the Bulldog's gonna have a
Yes.
a
It will
tag
hap-
that has
yes.
an interlock BD on it, on the
That will
collar?
happen, that should happen.
Paul, that's okay?
Is it all blue?
Nope.
No,
Green and gold. The tag is gonna be green and gold.
Whatever Julian wants.
Okay. Good answer.
I wish everybody said that.
The update that Marge spoke from is going to be on our website?
It is. It is on the website.
And that'll be updated?
Every month. Every month, there'll be an updated one on the website. So there's a bucket for the facilities project right on the main page. And then when you land on that, I believe it's just on your right side. All those updates will be in there, so people can look at the most recent one. They can go back, see what's going on. Couple other pieces of note regarding that update. So it basically has an overview snapshot, and then it's going to continue to break down middle school, Washington Elementary, and district-wide improvements each month. There's also a separate section on finances and budgets. And then we'll keep a rolling key dates and milestones on that document as well. So somebody asks, when something's going to happen, there should be a note of that. And we typically use the season with the date, not the exact month for the key dates and milestones. At this point, as we get closer to certain things, we can update that when we know the exact date per se. But right now, you'll see like winter, spring, summer, fall of different years kind of slated out there. But it gives people a general idea of what's coming and when.
I think that's it for operations.
No motion for that.
I don't think they need to make a motion.
Okay.
No, information on,
All right, is that it, Marge?
that's it.
Any other questions for Marge? All right, move on to T&L.
Teaching and learning also met on January 27th. I was absent, but present were Mary Kuntz, Maria Mason, and Heather Schultz. Ms. Bonholtz, the Director of Student Services, provided an update on the district's intervention programs. She reviewed the 3 tiers of support, the actions used this school year to support implementation of interventions, and the social emotional learning screeners used by the district. The district partners with local services to provide therapy and consultations. Parent feedback regarding these partnerships was positive. She reviewed the resources used by PPS and the next steps. Mr. Kraus, the Prairie View Elementary principal, presented an update on the elementary curriculum math review. He explained the curriculum review cycle and that while a new math curriculum is not being adopted, a new resource to support math fact fluency specific to grades 2 through 5 will be adopted. He reviewed the steps and the outcomes. The resources will be implemented in the 2025-2026 school year. Mr. Tronson, the high school principal, shared information on a revision to high school AP Physics. He reviewed the current courses, explained that AP Physics 1 will replace Honors Physics and the first level Physics C course, and AP Physics 2 will replace the second AP Physics C course. He explained the new options will allow for more students to take the course. The next committee meeting is scheduled for February 24th at 5:30. And as part of teaching and learning, we are looking for the adoption of the advanced placement course proposal that was presented. So I recommend the board approve the AP Physics 1 course to replace Physics Honors and an AP Physics 2 course to replace AP Physics C. This would leave our high school with three physics options. Regular physics with 1 credit, AP Physics 1 as a 1 credit, and an AP Physics 2, which also would be 1 credit.
That was a motion. Second.
That was a motion, right?
Yeah, sure. I have just been talking there.
All right, so we have a motion and a second then to approve the advanced placement course as presented. All in favor, correct, Mayor? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not, same sign? All right. That moves us on to state education convention update. So a majority of us were able to attend the state education convention recently. And each time following the convention, we allow time for each of the board members to share out any learning opportunities, sessions they went to. So at this time, I'll open it up for the board to share out anything related to the convention.
I attended a couple of sessions that I thought had something interesting, particularly to bring home. The first one was on truancy and chronic absenteeism, and there were a couple of school districts that presented there. I got the packet to mark because I thought there were some interesting things in there. Some of it, really focused on treating absenteeism as an intervention almost to get the kids into school, how they tried some things for like 6 weeks, and if they didn't work, they went on to the next thing. But the thing that I really took away from that was that they view truancy as a family and not as a school. So they had monthly meetings that were a district-wide meeting with all grade levels represented so that they could talk about the truancy or absentee problem within a family. So that tendency to address it like by elementary, middle, high school, they put them together. And I thought that was an interesting approach that I don't know that we're doing here. And then they still met as a school to talk about specific kids, but then as a district to talk about families. And the second course that I thought was had something interesting was a course on designing for special ed. It talked about a school that did a renovation where they had all of their staff in one large area for special ed with the teachers and the TAs in one area, and they remodeled so that they had their separate learning areas with intervention spaces. And even though the spaces were better designed, their performance went down because they didn't especially realize that the collaboration was organically happening when they all shared a space, and when they divided them throughout the building, they missed that collaboration, and so they had to find ways to make a point to have their special ed staff collaborate where it had just happened organically in the previous floor plan. So that was just something interesting I thought to keep sight of as we move to better spaces for our staff. But those were the two classes I found particularly interesting.
All right, anybody else?
Well, I was the delegate to the I took John's place at the meeting with the other people there, going over the options that different school districts had made for proposals to maybe go in front of the state representatives and things like that. It was a very long meeting, 3 hours long, where people couldn't decide on I think we had seen 10 that they were going to have, or 15 or something, which we figured would move along. But then people kept coming up with new ideas and changes, a word here, a word there. It became very, very strange. So by the time that we were towards getting to the 3-hour mark, people were going, "Aren't we done yet?" And it was kind of frustrating. So most of the things that were presented were accepted the way they had been listed, and most of the other ones that came up just at that time to make a decision on were not accepted because they had been reviewed once before and things like that. So nothing of real importance that I think is going to move anything further on the state level. So that was that. The other thing is I typically do go to the education tour, and this time Maria and Heather joined me. They both of them went, and Ike was there. I forgot. Yeah.
Just for the food.
He popped in there later. But anyways, we went to MSOE, and they were doing things with robotics and things like that, and talked about the space that they have where they bring in groups of kids can come to work, but their space is limited and that was one of the things that they kept emphasizing, that they wish they had a larger building and to be able to accommodate more kids. And I know we have a very active robotics team in the high school. I'm not sure if we have anything at the middle school or not for robotics. At this time. You know, we did for a while, and things, then you kind of lose somebody who's going to be kind of overseeing that, and things change. But it was interesting, but I love to go on those different tours, and this wasn't one of my favorite ones. So that's just my impression, so.
Our team did put the airplane together the fastest.
Oh, yeah, that was one of the things they had us doing. We had to they had Legos that were in shapes of airplanes, and how many were there? 12 of them, right? And they had to take them all apart, and as a team, work together to put them back together in 2 minutes. Wasn't that what they were aiming for? Our team was first, and we had them all right.
It was fun.
You guys were all on the same team?
Yeah, we were on the same team.
Well,
It's
I
nice.
was on a
It's
different.
nice to see you guys can work good
Yeah, I
together.
was on a different team, so he wasn't on the winning one.
Anybody else?
Went to several different sessions as well. I appreciate the opportunity to learn and grow as a board member. Still feel like I'm pretty new at this, so I went to a couple sessions on district communication, board's role in district communication, effective governance, very exciting topics like that, but they were good. But I do have a couple of things, and I haven't passed it on yet to Mark, but I went to a couple sessions on AI in the district and on cybersecurity. So very interesting topics that, are coming down the pike for us if they're not already.
Anybody else?
I just wanted to also comment, I thought the guest speakers that we had were pretty good this year.
I went to a session on school safety. With my background in safety, I always find those interesting. I think probably the one big takeaway from the session on school safety is it didn't really talk about any kind of reactive. It didn't talk about the reactive side of school safety. It talked about the proactive side from school culture. So basically, it's saying your school culture is probably more important than any efforts that can go into the reactive part of dealing with school safety. So, and then went to some health insurance sessions, 2 of them. One by the Greendale School District about a self-funded health plan. So I know our increases from a health insurance standpoint have not been significant over the last couple of years, but the time will probably come at some point, and I think it's always important to have alternative options. So it was nice sitting through that as well. Anybody else? All right.
As a new person, it's pretty overwhelming. There's a lot going on. Everybody's really respectful, so that's good. A lot to take in. And I went to, I think, the same session about the school board's role in communication. A lot of talk about social media. What should you say, not say? Some people weren't always happy with other people's comments about, well, it's my First Amendment right, and things like that. And so that was kind of an interesting conversation on like the appropriateness of, what we're saying out there. I went to one on like rural schools and effective boards. They talk a lot about like community engagement, which I think is really important, so some good stuff. And I met some of the vendors, so that was kind of nice to see what they actually do and be able to talk to them.
All right, anybody else? All right, we'll move on. 9.5, high performing boards workshop. So, on February 3rd, thank you. February 3rd, the board met in for a workshop. Ted Knightsky, the CISA 6 CEO, facilitated the workshop on high-functioning boards. So Mr. Knightsky explained the workshop focus on high-performing boards is always obviously to stay focused and support the strategic plan of the district along with supporting student, staff, and administrators. He led us through the development of mission statement in the process of staying focused on purpose, values, and behaviors and norms. I think one of the things we spent a decent amount of time was understanding our responsibility from a government standpoint. The board really looks at answering the questions of what in development of policy and strategy for the school district, and then we rely on the administration to perform the how from a process and operations standpoint. So I think we spent a decent amount of time talking about that. Any other board members want to discuss or have any comments on the workshop?
I thought it was pretty good. When we were doing like our mission goal work, a little bit of a unique way to do it. I've been involved in several strategic planning workshops. This was a unique way of doing it, and it was quite fruitful. I thought it was pretty interesting, the answers that we had and what we came up with, and really how much a lot of our, which I think is really fortunate, how much of our individual perceptions mesh as a board together, that we're all on the same page with the majority of a lot of stuff. So it was nice to see.
Anybody else?
I also thought it was a good workshop that we had there. Putting in, no matter if you were a first-year member of the board or on the board for 15, 20 years, you learn something, that our responsibilities are different than the superintendent's, different than other people, and you have to know what you are responsible for. So that was important to confirm.
And what you're not.
And yeah, exactly. And he was very good. So look forward to having him for another session that we'll be having going forward.
It's good, it's well worth the time.
He's got some interesting ways of presenting.
Yep.
Very engaging.
Yeah.
And I'm always one to enjoy a little bit of humor, so I really enjoyed them. All right, anybody else? All right, let's move on to,
I move the board recess.
oh, hold
Wait,
on.
we've got one more thing.
We gotta talk about people.
Engagement and recognitions.
Board engagement, recognitions, open it up for the board to recognize or talk about any engagement opportunities they had.
I just want to recognize Maria Mason, that's not here tonight, and Mary Kuntz, because they have leveled up in their board growth. They received recognition when we were at the registration table for their continuing work as board members. Mark probably has the specifics, but.
What am I going to here? We had Skills USA Wisconsin. I saw this in the newspaper. So Skills USA Wisconsin is a partnership of students, teachers, and industry representatives working together to ensure America has a skilled workforce, and we had 2 high school students. Maggie Doyle finished first place in medical terminology, while Brianna Gansky also finished second. So congratulations to those 2 ladies. Anybody else?
Let's see here. I went to another varsity wrestling match. I can't remember who they wrestled, but this one, if you remember the first one I went to, they lost a heartbreaker at the end, and this one kind of went the opposite way. They were really getting whooped on pretty good to start, and they came back and they ended up winning the match, or winning the meet. So that was good to see. I got out and saw some youth basketball, some of our Positively Hoops teams. So that was good. And then we were at the coffee chat, and a little something different. They got to give a shout out to the kids in the kitchen, because, well, normally, we have like a muffin or something like that, but they came up with like some little egg bake, if you will. So
Quiche.
you think that's what it was?
I don't know.
I thought it tasted a lot better than a quiche. So, but it's like a little egg bake, and then they let's see, we had bacon, sausage, a little bit of cheddar cheese on it. It was good, melted cheddar cheese. So big shout out to the kids in the kitchen. It was delicious. I had a couple of them. So I just want to say that. Thanks, kiddos. That's it for me.
Ike was just talking about our wrestling team. So our wrestling team, conference champions of the Badger Large. So congratulations to our wrestling.
The Badger.
Badger,
The whole
Badger. The whole Badger.
All of them. 14, 15 schools.
The conference has changed so many times I can't keep it straight anymore.
Yeah. Different sports have different categories.
I still appreciate the little 10 when it was a little 10, but it is what it is now. More importantly, conference champs.
You finished ahead of Milton and Stoughton in wrestling. You're doing a lot of things right. So.
Anybody else?
Just a thanks again to Jefferson for having us over, and appreciate you taking the time to prepare for the visit, and the classroom visits were really, really good, really helpful for us to see that, so thanks.
I just echo the recognition for the Skills USA award winners, and they'll be moving on to state, which I believe is at the Alliant Energy Center. Is that accurate, Russ? You reference wrestling, outright conference champions, as well as girls hockey. Again, a little bit of redundancy, but that's outstanding. And thank you, Mr. Gerber. I think he started ordering banners like as soon as the events ended. So I appreciate him being on it. So best time to probably order it is right then and there. Also, I just wanted to reiterate some recognition again for the robotics team. They actually participated in that Robotics Advocacy Day at the Capitol, which is a pretty neat event. So they get to meet with a variety of legislators as well as the governor at that. And Owen Hemling serves as on the Wisconsin First Robotics Student Board for the state, and he actually facilitated some learning as well as some kind of PD or informational sessions for the young and the old that were there. So hats off to that group. They're doing an outstanding job of representing our school and our community. And then also wanted to recognize Ryan and all those that have been involved in just our budgeting efforts. Through that bond rating process, we received an A+ rating. So the bond rating, a lot of it has to do with the local economy, has to do with income levels, poverty levels, those types of things. But in that rating brief that they send, or the rating report, they outlined strong budget practices, healthy reserves, excellent planning, as well as sharp policy alignment as key strength areas for our district. And that's going to go a long way and continue to pay dividends as we work through these large-scale capital adventures.
All right.
I move that the board recess into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 1925, C, concerning employment, promotion, compensation, performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically to discuss specific employees and the employment of a professional administrative employee.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to move into closed session. Ask for a roll call.
Yes.
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 All right, we will move into closed session and be back in a little bit. We're all back. Let's see here. We're all back in open session, and we'll move forward with district policy and guidelines, retirements.
We have 3 retirements for your consideration tonight. The first one is Lori Furch. She's been in our food services department for 32 years, and she is requesting to retire at the end of the school year. Joanne Hoffner, she's been a secretary in our school district for 10 years, and she is requesting to retire at the end of the school year. And Julie Sether is a 3rd grade teacher at Lincoln who has been with us for 36 years.
I move the board approve the retirements as presented.
Second.
Excuse me. Do we have a motion and a second then to approve the retirements as presented? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not, same sign. All right.
We have 1 leave of absence for your consideration tonight, and I just want to make a correction. It came in kind of late today. It is 4/7, not 4/27, through the end of the school year.
I move the board approve the leave of absence as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the leave of absence as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not, same sign. All right.
No appointments tonight.
And Nicole, before you run away, our date is typically, February 15th for retirements? Do we anticipate that we'll have a few more on next month?
Potentially, there are 2 other people that I've spoken to that are still deciding.
Okay.
So I'm thinking you more than likely won't have any more, but you could have 2.
Okay. Excellent.
All right. Moving on to 12.4.
I move that the board approve the superintendent contract for the year of 2025 and 2027.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the superintendent contract for the 25 to 27 contract period. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Well played.
Yes.
All right, moving on to board policy updates.
All right, there are 2 categories of policy updates this evening. The first one is in reference to policies 2264 and 2266. Those are specific to Title IX. This was foreshadowed a little bit earlier, but as you recall, there was a federal court in Kentucky that struck down the 2024 Title IX regulations nationwide, citing overreach by the U.S. Department of Education. I've consulted, well, I should say Dr. White's consulted specifically with legal counsel, and then I reviewed the recommended motions for this evening with legal counsel as well. So we're going to be asking that the board essentially rescind policy 2264 that supports the 2024 Title IX guidelines and update policy 2266 to reflect this change. So the first motion that I would be requesting that the board make would be to rescind, again, policy 2264, and then following that, the second motion would be to motion to amend Board Policy 2266 by deleting the language limiting its application to conduct occurring before August 1st, 2024. And as you recall, that specific date reference was included in there because of the quote-unquote new Title IX policy that we're asking you to rescind.
I move to rescind Board Policy 2264.
Second.
Are these, Mary, are these going to need just approval? All right, we have a motion and a second then to rescind Board Policy 2264. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not, same sign. Another motion, please?
I move to amend Board Policy 2266 by deleting the language limiting its application to conduct occurring before August 1st, 2024.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to amend Board Policy 2266. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not, same sign. All right,
All right, the second category has to do with policy 9160, which has to do with the prohibition of alcohol on district premises. This was initially discussed at the regular board meeting in December, and then further discussion took place at Operations Committee in January. So at this point in time, based on the conversation and feedback, recommending that pursuant to policy 0131.1, the board suspend the prohibition against alcohol possession set forth in policy 9160 during regional and state American Legion tournaments, which for reference could apply to American Legion tournaments for baseball technically or softball, if that were to take place, that may be held on Beaver Dam High School campus during the summer of 2025, so long as the American Legion submits a plan for said possession and distribution that is approved by an authorized representative of the Beaver Dam Police Department and the district facility and safety officer. The superintendent or designee has the authority to reinstate the prohibition at any time without notice or dispute.
So we've talked about this several times, both in committee and previous board meetings. Does anybody have any questions related to the potential motion?
I really don't have a question, but I do have a couple of things I just want to say because we did have a lot of discussion on this. And one of the things that I know was important to me, and I think was important to a lot of the other members on the board, was that the superintendent or designee has the authority to reinstate the prohibition. And just to be, very clear from my position, and you guys can agree with me or not, is that I definitely want this to be something that enhances the program and doesn't detract from our beliefs as a district. And so if there were a problem on a Friday night, that could be pulled for the Saturday games, and it would be. And I think as a board, we've been very clear with our wishes as we expressed them to you to implement and are putting a lot of faith in this. And I hope that it helps move the Legion ahead because we have a great program, and hopefully this will help that grow.
Other questions or comments on the potential motion? If
Move
not,
for approval of the policy 9160 as presented. I'm not going to read that whole thing again.
do we need to read it?
No,
Do we
but
have
no, you don't have to read the whole thing again. But I think the motion would be that pursuant to, because we're not, just to clarify,
Oh,
we're
right.
not changing the policy.
Right.
Pursuant to the board's authority, you're suspending the policy 9160
The prohibition.
specific.
You better just
for-
read it, we'll get it all in there.
All right.
You want me to
Just read it.
Go ahead, Marge.
I move the board pursuant to board policy 0131-1, or -1, suspend the prohibition against alcohol possession set forth in board policy 9160 during regional and state American Legion tournaments that may be held on Beaver Dam High School campus during the summer of 2025, so long as the American Legion submits a plan for said possession and distribution that is approved by an authorized representative of the Beaver Dam Police Department and the district facility and safety officer. The superintendent or designee has the authority to reinstate the prohibition at any time without notice or dispute.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second then for policy 9160. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not, same sign? All right. Move on to payment of claims.
I move for payment and claims in the amount of $3,604,317.66.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for payment of claims. Roll call, please. Yes.
Yes? Yes.
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 All right, with that, I look for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor, say aye.